This chapter did a great job of kind of breaking things down and realizing that the peace that these nations have is very tenuous, to say the least. Naruto number 65. Life and Death Battles.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and Naruto lovers and Sasuke lovers and Sakura lovers of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on this great and timeless and enchanting tale of Naruto. Now, notice I started that intro off with lover of. Regardless of where you fall on the love or hate scale towards any one of these characters, personally, I have nothing but love for them, at least at this point in the story anyway, because to me, they're still very new and very fresh and very exciting. Will I say that 500 chapters from now? I'm not sure. I don't know what the future will hold. So, anyways, our last chapter wound up kind of, it started off the next volume over here, volume 8, and it started off really just kind of being that slow down bridge sort of chapter between the second phase and third phase of the Chunin exams, and really kind of wound up ending off with, you know, the Hokage, Lord Hokage, as well as Anko just kind of saying, hey, we're going to proceed on to the next round. 21 people have passed, 7 cells, and that's how things are going to go. We're going to keep our eye on Orochimaru and hopefully be able to head that shit off before it becomes a thing again. And that's where things left off. Things wind up picking up, actually kind of at the congratulatory or graduation sort of ceremony, at least for this portion of the exam. The 21 that have passed, and all of them from Konoha Village have actually passed as well, which I thought was kind of a cool thing too. They're all standing in front of the Lord Hokage, and then of course you've got, you know, Master Guy, and you've got Kakashi, and you've got Iruka, and you've got all the other ones that are gathered as well. You see some friendly sort of banter, I guess you would say, again, between Guy and Kakashi. And remember, they're like, they're not mortal enemies, but they're more like always trying to fight and clamor to see who's going to be the best at the top. You know, I think it's, for me, it seems like it's more of one of those playful adversarial type things, almost friendly competition like, you know. I believe that they do have some irritation towards one another, but I believe at the end of the day that they would help each other out in any type of circumstance if obviously it was needed by one or the other. So anyway, we kind of get those, and then we get a lot of like inner monologue talking amongst the ones that are still left, you know. We get, you know, glares from this one, glares from that one. Some people, you know, notice that Naruto and his group made it, and they're happy about that. And then there's others that are, I don't know. And then, of course, the ninjas from the Village of Sound, you know, and, oh, they vow to get back at Sasuke, you know, for him messing up the one dude's arms, breaking them, whatever, dislocating them. And it's really just kind of, and then you kind of look at the ones from the Village of Sand, and you're just like, wow, these are these cold, ruthless killers, you know. But really what it wound up being, and Anko even goes and kind of, you know, makes mention of this when she finds out about 21 passing. She didn't expect, when there was 78 and she said that she was going to pare it down to at least half, in reality, she was thinking, and she even says this, that she was thinking there would only be like single digits, you know, that there maybe be like 3, 6, 9 of them left. There'd only be a couple of cells that got through, right? That's what she was thinking. So 21 apparently is a lot to actually make it to the next level of this exam. So then, really, the majority of the chapter takes place with, and everybody's drawn so well, too. I really have to give it, you know, my hat's off, I guess you would say, you know, a slow clap or round of applause for Kishimoto. He does a wonderful job of depicting these characters and having unique looks for each one of them. And many pages in this particular chapter, although it wasn't an action-heavy chapter, he had to draw 10 or 15 or a dozen, whatever, characters, and over and over again in each panel and each page. And I thought he did an excellent job of it, because you can look and immediately tell who is who just from these particular, you know, drawings, these pictures. And that can't be said for every other manga or comic or anything like that that's illustrated out there. There's oftentimes that you have a character that doesn't have a distinguishing trait about them, and it's in black and white, and they look very similar to another one, and you're like, who is that? And then until they kind of speak and you piece together some of the words from the word bubbles, you're not really sure, you know. So anyway, I think he does a great job, and again, that's just something that, you know, something that I noticed, just kind of, you know, being a aspiring artist myself. So the Lord Hokage, though, goes and he says, listen, make no mistake, first of all, as you progress into the third phase of this exam, make no mistake, you know, this is life and death. Your life can be on the line at any time. This is, you know, this is the ultimate battle, you know, for this and that. But what he really explains that I thought was kind of cool is he's like, what this really is a chance for your country to shine, right? The bottom line here, and the reason that they have this sort of fragile unity amongst the countries, is really because they're only like neighboring areas, and it was the type of thing where a fragile alliance is better than an all-out war, whether it be behind the scenes or whatever the case is, trying to backstab and hurt one another. So what they did is they came up with these Chunin exams, right? And it really, yes, sure, it's a test to see who can get to that level and everything else, but the main purpose, he explains, of it is really to kind of represent your country, almost in like an Olympic Games, except for it's an Olympic Games where you can die, right? And not just from some weird terrorist mad bomber. Like it's an Olympic Games that, again, life and death is on the line, but also what's on the line is kind of the respect for your village and the country that you come from. And he explains that if you do very well in the Chunin exams, your village, for instance, then you'll wind up getting a bunch of kind of freelance work from conscripted work in the area for your shinobi, which it'll fill the coffers, which are basically what holds the money, right? And that's what they do. You know, you need to have that. It's almost like as opposed to just taxing people and things like that, when you have a good economy flowing within, because everybody knows that, hey, you can rely on that village of whatever. That particular country has some of the best ninjas in the last decade. So you know that that they're going to get more work, right? And the ones that don't do as well, people are going to be more fearful of wanting to go and spend their money and actually go and pay them to do these various jobs and things like that. Again, so it kind of will demote or decrease the economy in that particular region. So I like how it was all explained, because honestly, there's a lot of ties of it to real world, obviously, depending on what area, what state, what country, what area of the world that you live in. You know, you may experience things differently, obviously, depending on how heavily you're taxed or how good your school systems are, or really just how the crime is in the area that you live in. There's a number of different factors. And I like how Kishimoto did a great job of explaining all of this and explaining that really, yeah, your lives are on the line with this whole deal, but the bottom line is that we're all kind of fighting for you know, to sort of like take home that gold, you know, to who has the most gold medals, you know, in the Olympics, that sort of thing, if you want to use a metaphor. And we get, and Naruto's kind of itching at the whole time. When Gaara winds up going and speaking up, and he's like, completely disrespectful. He's just like, listen, can we get through with this shit and get on to the rules of the third exam, you know? And Naruto's kind of like, yeah, he agrees, you know? And the bottom line is he winds up going, and the Hokage eventually goes and turns it over to this Gekko Hayate. And Hayate introduces himself, and I'm not sure if he's going to be the examiner for the third phase, or if he's just kind of helper in this. But basically, what he says is that there's too many applicants that are still there in it, right? And the way the rules are, and the way the rules are said, is that this third exam is going to be scrutinized and looked at by a lot of the higher ups and the noblemen and the rich ones and the people of power within these various countries and these villages. So it's kind of going to be like on national TV, like the Olympics, under the spotlight and everything else. Everything was just the prelim up to that. So now we're going to weed some of you out by doing some preliminary things, some preliminary tests or whatever you want to call them, goals that you have to conquer or pass or whatever. Because we're going to pare down and obviously get it to the point where there's not 21 of you going into phase 3. And a lot of people are screaming like, whoa, bullshit. It's complete nonsense. You're telling me that we're going to be penalized because too many of us did well? Bullshit. The Hokage was very impressed because many of the first-time applicants, you know, first-time takers of the Chunin exams, did wind up passing on to the third round, which is kind of unprecedented and unheard of, right? But anyway, the bottom line is, and the chapter ends off with Hayate saying, hey, listen, anybody who wants to duck out now and you know, kind of save yourself for next year or whatever, drop out, bow out gracefully, take one step forward. It won't be held against you or whatever, you know. So Naruto's thinking in his mind, hell yeah, we're going to kick some ass, and my boy Kabuto's talking to me, we're going to fight and get to the end, and we're going to do this and that, right? Kabuto goes and steps forward and says, I'm done, I'm out. And that was kind of the shocker at the end of the chapter. Now, we know Kabuto is working for Orochimaru and trying to deliver him key information on Sasuke, and we presume Naruto as well. Now, maybe he doesn't have to do that going into the third round. Maybe he has. Maybe this is part of his master plan, and maybe he just feels like he cannot move on to the next round for whatever reason or another. You know, he's a plant. He's in there just to do what he's supposed to do, and then he's going to get out and he's done. I don't know. Hope they explain it, though, fairly soon. But that's how the chapter ends off, right? I was thinking, holy shit, you know, as much of a turncoat double agent spy as Kabuto is, I wanted to see him progress further into to see what type of machinations and things he could come up with, you know. So anyway, that's where the chapter leaves off. And my chapter question for you, brothers and sisters, is what are your thoughts about the whole, just the kind of fragile unity, the sort of almost temporary peace that they have. The peace isn't really peace that's built on these good morals and values of, hey, it's the right thing to do. The peace and the way these countries work is basically just like, hey, listen, for the good of us all, and so we all can survive, we're going to kind of have this tenuous peace amongst ourselves, but we're going to go and hold these Chunin exams every year so we can kind of go and boast about and chest beat whoever's got the best country or whoever has the best, you know, the best shinobi from that said country. You know, it's kind of like for bragging rights as well. But what are your thoughts on just kind of that whole infrastructure and how that whole governmental system and everything like that is amongst these countries? Let me know what your answers are, brothers and sisters, to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, nation.
Remember to subscribe to my other channels and follow me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram too.